Today I have a Phantom 3 Advanced, and we are going to replace the shell. So stay tuned. Alright, here we go. I hope you don't hear the sound of my space heater going here in the background. It's like 6 degrees out today in the frozen tundra of southeastern PA. Just trying to keep the shop somewhat livable. We'll start by removing these drop pins here. The thing we'll do is just push down the retainer like that, and then maybe we can wait a few seconds. Sometimes you don't have to wait that long. We'll just try to push it through. And there we go. There's one. Notice I didn't use any screwdrivers or anything like that. It's probably not necessary. Just push the retainer down. Just like that. Wait a few seconds. And this one didn't go as planned because it's on an angle. And we'll just pull it straight up here if we can. There we go. And it comes right off. We'll put our 2 pins aside here. And we'll separate the camera. Our rubber mounts here for shock absorption on the camera. We'll pull these out. And then we have a couple of cables to disconnect here. See here, we'll pop that one off. Pop. And we got the one here which goes into the light bridge module. And so I get my thumbnail in there to pop that one off. Get a screwdriver. And there it is. Camera's off. Set that aside. We'll take the end screws off. They go into threaded inserts within the shell. The other ones were just coarse bit screws that just tap into the plastic. And these 2 are machine ones. Take that out. This Advanced here, I got, I don't know, maybe about a year ago. And I bought it as a crashed quad. It had some issues with the camera, which I was able to fix. The motherboard actually, or the main board, if you want to call it that, was damaged. It had a broken capacitor, broken right on the board. I deemed it as a loss, so I have already replaced the main board inside here. And this is the one that I've actually filmed a number of videos on my channel with. The one that was flown over the quarry was filmed with this one. The one that was flown over the abandoned paper mill was also filmed with this one. I kind of like to use this one where I put the quad in some danger, some risk of possibly losing it, because it's not as expensive as the my Phantom 4 or any of my Phantom 4s or the Mavic Pro. So this is my go-to quad for the dangerous shoots. Not that I want to lose it. Just be less of a horrible experience over to lose this one than one of my other ones. So I do want to maintain it. The shell, I left it, the original shell on it when I bought it. It was cracked. It had some issues with the screw threads inside here, which were cracked, and I was able to epoxy them. But I got a good deal on a new shell from GearBest. It was like $25, and I've been wanting to do this for a while, so it's time. And these screws here are the same star bit, but again, they are those coarse threaded screws that are just meant to tap into plastics. These are not machine threaded screws like the other two were. This is actually my first time replacing a shell on the Phantom 3 Advanced. I've done a couple on a standard. These are a little bit different because you have to deal with the light bridge module and the vision positioning module, which are right here. Alright. We have one more here. So that should be all the screws. You really have only just the one screw up near the landing gear, and then you have two down here, and one on each end of the arm. Once you have all those screws out, then we should be able to pop this case apart. Let me go get a set of props which will help facilitate separating the shell. Here, I'll show you how to do that. If any of you have seen my Phantom 4 replacement shell video and did the same thing, might have even used these same props. It works well on a Phantom 4 also. What we'll do is we'll feed the prop into here. Notice I don't do any prying with screwdrivers, even plastic bludgeoning tools. I just like to avoid that. I think you can have the potential to damage the shell. Not that we care that much about this because we're replacing the shell, but I just think it's a good practice to do it this way. If you do want to save the shell or you're just repairing the quad, then you definitely want to do it this way. We'll just feed a prop in there. Again, we're just separating it at the arm at the near the motor. It does separate easily there. I did cut through these stickers. Just so we could separate the arms easier. I'll probably just have to buy new stickers when they put the new shell on. I know that doesn't come with new stickers. Alright, props are in. Now we just do is just push on the bottom of the shell. There's a hooks in a couple locations. There's a hook here and here, and on the other side of each side of the battery compartment there are hooks, and then there's here and here, and again on the other side, same place. So we just want to push in if you can right around those locations, and you should hear a pop. What you can do is you can feed the prop down further in if you want. Once you have that pop. There's the ones around the battery compartment are the toughest ones to free up. It's popping up pretty easily. Just have to be patient. Keep working at it. Needs a little bit of force to press in on it. So you want to be afraid to do that. We're almost free except for those hooks right at the battery. Here's one. Okay, I think we're just about free. There's one right in the center. The battery compartment. Okay. Now the shell's free. And we do have a wire to be aware of here. We do have a connection to the GPS, which is right on the inside of the shell, so we do have to disconnect the wire. It's over here on this end. You can see it right there. So we'll just either get a screwdriver in there, or, fingers that are small enough, so I'm just going to use a screwdriver. Just pry up the connector. And we are free. There's the connector right there for the GPS. There. Okay, we'll set this aside. You can set the props away here. We won't need those again. Now we can just start disconnecting the connectors here. This is for the battery information here. This little one goes right down to the battery connector. You can pull that one out. Unlike the Phantom 4, we do not have to desolder the motors on this one because there's no feeding the wires down through any holes. So we can leave the motors connected here. You can see where I soldered the leads on when I replaced the main board before. This is about, I don't know, 7-8 months ago or even farther back. Then I sort of re-glued the wires down with some electronic silicone. Didn't really need to, but I'm kind of glad I did now because now we don't have to worry about any wires breaking off as I remove this motherboard and pick up the motors to go along with it. I'm going to disconnect this one. This was the USB connector on the front of the quad. Disconnect that. This one here, I believe, is to the light bridge module. We can get this one disconnected. I'm just trying to get your fingers in there to get these. With the help of a screwdriver, there we go. And then we have this one here. This one, I believe this one goes with the gimbal. Disconnect that one. And we have this little one here. I think this goes with the compass. And again, we'll just disconnect it very carefully. Okay. And then we should be able to remove it now. We have to loosen or remove the motors because this whole thing will come out as a unit. So let us turn this over here and we'll take the motor screws out. These are not star bits, but these are Allen type bits. Find the right size here. I guess this size works. There's 4 screws. They're machine screws that hold the motors in. Alright, we'll lift these up here. Be aware of the motors. Incidentally, this is the same main board that is used in the Phantom 3 Pro Professional. So the only difference between Professional and the Advanced is the camera. If I wanted to turn this into a Professional, I could just go out and buy a 4K camera that works for the Professional. They don't have the Professional. So these motherboards are one and the same. So right here, you can see there's like a little washer with a rubber grommet on it. Each screw. Screws into the that DJI calls the center console, or they call it, it's actually the housing where the battery goes. which we will be removing because I know the new shell does not come with that. It'll be transferred over. Alright, there's 4 screws that are out. Now, we have to deal with these LEDs. Now, if you can see or not, but the LEDs are just melted in. There's plastic spikes that come up and then they're put on and then they're melted over to retain the LEDs. Now you can get a soldering iron and you can heat them and melt them and pop it off that way. I just pry them off same way I did with the Phantom 4. They're not held on by much. Little prying will take care of it. I want to use a plastic tool for that. I'm finding my little plastic spludging tools. And we'll just get down here on this one and pop. And pop. Same thing here. See, they come off real easy. There's no need to fire up a soldering iron. We will when we go to put them on, new shell. We need to melt that on. Turn that off. Now, we can lift the whole thing carefully. I usually like to hold it up here with the motors. Now, we still have the battery connector down here, which we'll need to remove, which is right down here. So I'll get a screwdriver. Once we have that free, then we can take everything out. Start with the top screw, loosen that. And there's a second one down here. Take that. And put that in there. And let it pop loose. And everything comes right out. We'll just set that all aside. Here's the battery compartment. Let's screw out of there. I guess we can take the battery compartment out next. That'll be transferred over to the new shell. Okay, it comes right out. You can set that aside with the keeping the screws with it. No reason to separate those. Now we can remove the USB module. Right here. Set that aside with its associated screws. It'll come right out. Let's turn this over now. We need to remove this gimbal mount. Take the screws off here. Set that aside. I'm going to just use these landing gear. There's nothing wrong with the landing gear. There's no reason to even replace those. It did come with new landing gear, the case did. But then you have to pry out the compass, which is glued in, and then transfer it over to the new. And it's not necessary to do all that. Just save the pair of landing gear for some other future project I may need it for. Okay. Get this cable freed up here. That'll be fished right through there. Now we can set that aside. Now let's take the cover off the vision positioning module here. It's going to be a different size. And there's the right size there. Take these screws out. Lift this up carefully. It's got a connector in here, and if you can see that or not, you can pop that connector off. Get my fat finger in there. Okay, and that's your vision positioning module. This is the I think DJI calls it the OFDM module. I don't know what that stands for, but it's their light bridge module. And we need a Phillips screwdriver for that. Better size screwdriver. And these little rubber grommets that are in here, which have to come out. These guys right here, we'll pull them out. And let's do it with your fingers. Or push from this side. Pop them out that way. I did notice a lot of dirt inside the shell here, especially before, and I see it again. I really wonder if this thing had a water landing or had a water crash. The way it looked like it almost had seaweed inside of it. Anyway, the camera worked. It was just, the gimbal was just broken, it had to be fixed, but otherwise the camera works fine. It always did. Let's see if we can pop out the antenna. There we go. I found the sweet spot to pry them out from. So I want to use a sharp tool. I don't want to damage them. If we are going to reuse these. You can see right here is where the compass is, and that'll stay right there. We'll just transfer the this old landing gear over to the new shell. I'll leave the compass where it is. There's our antennas. Alright, let's take this OFDM module out. Very carefully. You can actually pull these antennas up through here first of all. Like that. These we'll just carefully remove. Feed these down through here. This black wire was actually the OFDM wire. The light bridge is what it really is. And that whole thing is out. So we'll set that aside. Now we can remove the landing gear. We can remove this cable too. Turn this over, and we'll get our alright, take this one landing gear out, and it's a connector to the compass. Set it aside. And we have to pop off the covers for the LEDs too, because I know I have to transfer those over. Okay, they're popped out. Alright, I used a heat gun to transfer the stickers over. Not the best job in the world, but it's on. I also was able to transfer the foam rubber battery slides here again. Not the best job. They kind of stretched out a bit with the heat. But they're in. I don't even know if they're needed, to be honest with you, but they're there, they're in. Let's put on the LED covers. Oh, I did put the battery bezel in too. Just use the screws from the old one. See if we can snap these LEDs in here. Covers, I should say. See how easy they snap in. All right. Okay, let's put the landing gear on. Alright, let's feed the antenna through here. The screws in here for the light bridge module. Okay, we can feed these antennas down. Pop the antennas back in. Alright, I had some interference problems with the antenna here on this side and clearing the compass cable. I did not want to pinch the compass cable, so I did have to take the cover off the compass. Get that situated. Alright, I can put the also put the vision positioning module on at this point. It goes on like this. There it is. The vision positioning sensor. Screw that down. Okay, the wire's in, bottom plate for the gimbal's in. Now let's put the USB module in here. Okay, USB module's in. I guess at this point, if you want to, we can put the little grommets in here. Just be pushed in from here, from the inside. Now, let's get the battery compartment. And we'll fit that in. Now let's get the main board. We'll bring it up here. Get it oriented in the right direction here. Just going to sit like that. First of all, we have to get this battery module back in. Get that seat in there properly. Number one. And we'll set the motherboard down here. Make sure you get all the connectors clear. Let's see, we got that. Compass this connector has to go down in there underneath the motherboard. I'll clip that in there. The light bridge connector gets clipped in there. This is the lead from the battery. It supplies the battery information. It gets clipped in here. And then we have that one, this one here. We got the USB connector over here. And this is the gimbal connector, USB connector, and that should be all the connectors. Get our screws, screw down the motherboard. Remember, it's these screws which have the rubber grommets. Tighten them down. Okay. Alright, I've got the motors on. I actually melted the little plastic tabs around the LED modules here with the soldering iron. Alright, now what we'll need to do is we need to remove this GPS from the top of the old shell, so we'll just have to peel this sticky shielding back. Just like that. I'm going to put this on the new shell, so we want to try to pull it off and so that it doesn't get torn. Alright, it is really stuck on there. Stuck to the GPS unit. I'll screw that there. Alright, that comes right off. Set this aside. And then we have the new top right here. There we go. Just screw it back down. Alright, now we'll just push this back down. Just like that. There we go. Okay. Now we can put the cover back on here. Doesn't hurt to double check everything to make sure, or once again, make sure everything's plugged in. Got no empty sockets here. Okay, we can put the shell, the top of the shell on now. Everything else looks good. We have to plug the GPS module in. Don't forget that. And we'll push that in there. There it is, just like that. Snap it in there. And we can push this down. Get these hooks snapped in there. Alright. Screws back in here. Okay. Now we'll put the camera on. Got no extra screws, that's a good thing. Get these connectors in here. Pull these up in. Okay, we're going to put the drop pins back in. I'll put the retainers back on. Oops. Here we go. I'm going to run and get a battery and plug it in and see what happens when I turn it on. All right, we got the app fired up here. Everything looks normal. See, I've got a picture. The camera up and down. Let's see if we can get these motors to fire up here. Make sure that's going to work. Fortunately, I can't fly it because it's like 12 degrees out. It'll probably turn purple in about 5 minutes. And it's getting dark out. Won't be able to see, and you won't be able to see me not being able to see. So let's see. Okay. There's our motors. Alright. Looks like we're going to be good. I'll fly it tomorrow. Or maybe the next day when it gets a little bit warmer. Alright, thanks for watching this video. Hope you liked it. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Also subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. I'm planning on doing some more maybe aerial videos if it ever warms up out there, and maybe some more rebuilding projects. I'm sure some more projects will come across my bench. I'm hoping to get a hold of a spark, and we'll do some work on a spark. That may be my next video. So thanks a lot. Bye-bye.